back to that conversation. So it's September. It's 6/23. It is September.
It is September too. Yeah.
It's 6/23, and we haven't talked at all about this past weekend.
We just haven't talked about the obvious.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about, really got into it. Me and Jerry were watching. I had watched some of it back. Jerry was watching back, and so he was breaking down some plays for us off air, and he's got some thoughts as to what. So how far have you gotten on the rewatch?
So I never really got to the fourth quarter of the game. Obviously, things got cleaned up a lot just by looking at the actual stat sheet in the second half of the game. But the first half of the game, I really do think defensively, we probably got a little too cute with some of the calls. We probably got a little too confused with how we were going to go about it. And I think that the more that we can either one or two things, either simplify what we do in those calls, because our game so far has either been we've started slow defensively or we haven't started fast offensively. However you want to look at it, we get behind the eight ball. And it's like, hey, if we can shore some of this stuff up early in the game and then obviously make the adjustments as we go in the game, right, I think the team will be in a much more competitive spot when you get against these teams that are just far better than what we've played so far. And what I saw early in the game is they literally just had a couple spots where you had guys just kind of crossed up on what they should be doing. It's not like, oh, we're that bad at missing tackles and this and that. There's great effort that they're playing with. I think they're doing a really good job of getting after quarterbacks and using the guys that they do have to kind of mix and match and move. And then don't look now, but Braden Swinson might actually be a dog, turning into a name that you have to start finding every time you line up on the ball. If we could start shoring up some of these things on the back end and through the second level and the third level of the defense, I think this defense has a chance to be competent.
Yeah.
They don't have to be stars, because I can tell you what, we have an absolute star at the quarterback spot that's going to do a lot of things to keep you in games, and obviously our offensive line is strong. I think this defense can start coming together a little bit quicker in these games. Look out. They got a good team, man. And look, this LSU team over the last 5 to 8 to 9, 10 years, it's always been an October, November type of team, and we've always had that one game in November that literally makes or breaks our season. You don't have to worry about that being a thing now. So it's like, if we can start pulling this stuff together,
yep,
you're in a good spot going towards the back end of the year.
I think we've noticed, right? Because you talk about Braden Swinson. At the end of last year, I think Braden Swinson people started realizing, damn, this guy kind of gets after the quarterback. And this is with no coaching, really, right? This is a guy transfers in, he gets after the quarterback, and you kind of see that towards the end of last year. Now he's got 5 sacks, Lloyd? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
5 sacks, all in the last 2 games, I believe. And
I believe it was Savion Jones against
USC. Savion Jones had the big – and look, that's another thing.
Yeah.
You talk about Braden Swinson. Savion Jones had a game similar to Braden Swinson last week against an SEC team on the road. So now you have these guys who are getting after the passer. I think I jokingly said in a text to us, is like, hey, we're a bend but don't break. Sack fumbles is our game, right? And that's it. Right?
It's not a joke.
You're gonna bend till you break, and or bend but don't break. And then you're going to hopefully hold them out there long enough and put them in a position where somebody can get to the quarterback and get a sack fumble or change the game with a big sack. And that's not the most efficient way to play defense, but it's the way that we're going to play defense right now. And I think that they're going to continue to get better on the back end. I'm not there. Look, and Jared convinced me, and I think he's right after watching last week. We're never going to be a team that's going to go out there and make a ton of interceptions this year, right? We don't have those guys yet. But being in the right position, I think, goes a long way as to making a team competent and average. Because defense just needs to be average. They need to make some stops, get some turnovers, make some 3-and-outs, and don't let them score 30 points.
I think the biggest testament to Blake Baker is the strengths and weaknesses of his defense. And he said, we're not going to force a lot of turnovers on the back end, so let me just send pressure after pressure after pressure, because I'm going to get turnovers. And that's the biggest difference from last year's defense to this year's defense. Not only that, but the second half adjustments have been incredible.
Right, and that's the other thing, right? You talked about scheduling and LSU getting better, and they get better in October. LSU or the SEC showed how hard it is to win on the road, right? Georgia almost lost on the road at Kentucky
13-12
2 weeks ago. They beat them 13-12. LSU goes out to South Carolina, has to fight for their lives to get a win. It's hard to win on the road, right? LSU just so happens now they're going to have some tough road games, and the same thing's going to be set for them. But Ole Miss, the big bad wolf, the next big bad wolf on the schedule.
Don't you overlook South Alabama now?
No, and we're going to get to them too because they scored a ton of points. That would be another good. It's a great test for our defense going into the next.
Northwestern State kind of juiced those numbers a little bit.
Is that? Yeah, I know, but still, like you got to
juice before that because you put up some crazy numbers.
You gotta score. Doesn't matter who you. LSU didn't score 77 against them. You know, they didn't score 77 against Nickel State. But we get Ole Miss at home and Alabama at home and Oklahoma at home. Now, obviously, watching Oklahoma, their defense is good, right? They're going to be able to stop some people. Offensively, they're still trying to figure out who they are. That other quarterback who came in seemed like he was a little bit better for that offense. We'll see. Jackson Arnold, I didn't realize he was the number 4 overall recruit in the country.
Yeah, they broke him.
And he stinks. I don't say he stinks. He doesn't stink. But he hasn't been playing as well as I thought a number 4 overall recruit in the country would have played.
Well, they changed their entire roster for him. Yeah. They got rid of Dylan Gabriel to make sure he didn't leave to go to a different school for the transfer portal, and then you have this situation where Oklahoma is very good defensively, elite, but this is what happens when you don't have an offensive-minded coach. You lost your coordinator. Wasn't it Levy that was their coordinator?
I think you're losing him anyway.
Right, but I'm saying, but that's the difference, that coaching matters. And you're seeing it in the NFL, and now you're seeing it at the college level where whatever Josh Heupel's on, he's able to get a freshman to be able to come in and play well. And I would say if he's the 4th-ranked quarterback and Nico was the 1st-ranked quarterback or Raiola, you're seeing how different situations they're in. And it's just so interesting to watch this play out because you can be as talented as you want, but if you don't have a scheme that matches it, it's you're put in a bad spot.
Yeah, and speaking of scheme, right? The scheme, LSU scheme has to change. Right? Defensively, don't you agree?
How so?
I mean, you've been trying to figure out a way to make Harold Perkins the most efficient linebacker you can get. Right? Was that a bad segue? Did that confuse you a lot with that segue?
A little bit. I thought you were talking about overall.
I think I confused myself a little bit there, but it still stands.
Now they're forced to change because of the absence of Harold Perkins.
Right. That's what I was getting at, right? Yeah. So they were the defense was schemed for him to be able to, be that game record that his talent says that he is, and that what he's shown that he can be. And so, they moved him to inside, outside, 4-3. It was a 4-2-5 first game of the season. And they wanted to move him down to a 4-3 to get him in that star position. Well, obviously, he is out, which is never a good thing. You're never going to be better because Harold Perkins is out. So I know there's a lot of narrative out there that maybe this is going to be better for the team because they're going to be able to do some other things. I think better is the wrong word. Because you're never better off. We're better when you have a guy of that talent off the field. You never want him to get hurt. But do I think that with the personnel that LSU has, is this scheme more suited to fit that personnel? Potentially, right? We talked a little bit about that. I mean, you're going to go more into a 4-2-5 type of defense. You have your 2 linebackers who you trust really well in Wes Weeks and Greg Penn right there in the middle, and you got a front 4. You got the guys who are getting after the quarterback. They've proven they can do that. You're just going to have to figure out the other guys in those other 5 spots that you feel most comfortable doing it. How do you feel about them potentially having to go back? And this is not a guarantee. Nobody said that they're going back to a 4-2-5. This is just all
It feels like the easiest fix for at least a week because you've done it before.
Yeah, I mean, the 4-2-5 over the 4-3 conversation, I honestly think has a lot to do with – look, don't get me wrong. Harold is a linebacker. Major Burns is not a linebacker. But I think what they were trying to get out of him, realistically, at the end of the day, is pretty much the same thing, right? You started the year with Major playing that star position, and then you obviously transitioned really quick into Harold doing the job. I think they're still trying to get the same thing done, so I'm not really sure the scheme or whatever you want to call it is really changing that much. I don't think it's going to change that much.
So you're right.
I do think at this point now – the best way to say this is I do think as a school like this, you do have a responsibility if you think that guy is actually a good player, which is very obvious. Harold is a very good player, and you should be doing the things to get him right because people won't talk about stuff like this. But if I bring in a heralded recruit like Harold, and I get him on the field, and he starts playing well, and I never ever really get him to the next level, and word gets out, whether it be right, wrong, or indifferent, that you did not develop him, because at the end of the day, let's be honest, this is what we like to call NFLSU, right? Mm-hmm. So if that's part of what we're doing here, and obviously we want to win, the two biggest things you're selling to kids these days, obviously, is the ability to win here and the ability to get you to the next level. And if people see somebody who comes here, that's not weird. How much? Yeah, we going okay. But my point is, when you come here and we're trying to get those things to you, and we're trying to get you to have those things, and we see you out the gate have success, and then all of a sudden, if it doesn't continue to go up or continue to stay the same, or you don't seem like you've gotten better, then it becomes you didn't do a good job of developing. And then if that is the word or what's said or however you want to look at it, it becomes hard to get the next batch of recruits in, especially in that position, right? So with that being said, like I do think that there was a certain level of, yes, Harold needs to be on the field, and I'm not refuting that at all. He's that good of a damn player. But I do think there's a little bit of, okay, we have him out of this situation. He was already learning and growing in new spots that he's not used to being in. It may be easier to run our scheme when people that are used to doing these things. I'm not saying that they're going to be a better defense, but you may get a more cohesive defense moving forward. Yeah. You may not have the same big play game breaker like he is, but you may have a more cohesive unit moving forward.
Right.
So it'll be, interesting to see how this thing goes. But yeah, it's a big loss. It's somebody you obviously need and you obviously want. It's a big loss, but sometimes these things pull teams together a little bit closer.
Absolutely, and sometimes it forces, maybe you're looking at these freshman guys or these younger linebackers who haven't got a lot of opportunity, and you're watching them play they're super talented. Yeah, they're a little lighter than you probably want. I think they're both under 220 pounds. And being young, that's a big thing, right? That's part of maturing and part of getting on the field. You've got to be physically ready to get on the field. Maybe sometimes you kind of look at them that way, and then they get an opportunity unexpectedly, and they end up killing it. And you're like, okay, all right, maybe we got something here. And now all of a sudden you have a couple more bodies who are factoring in, and they just are able to get better and better and better. Because that's how, unless you're like a Patrick Peterson or one of those freshmen who come right away, that's how you get better. That's how you learn, is you get this in-game experience, but you're able to hide it with all the veteran other talent you got, right? When I was a freshman, I hit 7-hole, and it didn't matter if I got 4 hits or not. As long as I was doing something to help us win, I could get hidden there because I had everybody else around me. They didn't need me. They needed me to go do the stuff I need to do defensively and do, be on the – they needed me on the field.
That's how you grow and get better.
Exactly.
We've always joked about this, though, because we have this background, we can talk about it. But if you look at baseball the same way, a lot of times guys get called up to the big leagues that's supposed to be this uber prospect. The worst thing you could do is throw his ass in the 8-hole. You don't have any protection. He's not hitting around anybody. Right. Throw him in the top of the lineup where there's people in front of him that are really good, where there's people that's going to hit behind him that's going to protect him. That way he gets pitches to hit. Right. That way you can really see what you got. In a lot of teams, or good teams, usually find that, and they do it that way. Teams that are not very great and not very good at developing guys, they usually don't do it that way. But that's the same type of mindset. It's the same type of thing.
Yeah. That's the difference between, major, pro ball and college baseball, where pitchers are like, I'm going to 8-hole this guy. I'm going to give him my best shit because
in college,
go ahead.
In college, it's more about, hey, we didn't pay this guy a bunch of money to come. Well, we didn't give him a big
times changed back in my day.
We didn't give him a big contract to be here, and he's not. All the fans aren't expecting to watch him to play. As a freshman, you get into LSU, you get into any big major college. Yeah, they may be expecting you to contribute through the course of your career, but people don't think of you as a freshman. Oh, this guy's going to come in unless you got a Bregman hype or whatever. So at that point, it's about winning. So the coach knows you're probably good enough to be in the lineup, but then he's going to put the big dogs early, and then he's going to put you down on the bottom, and you just say, hey, sack bunt, sack fly, move a guy over, whatever you need to do, grind your way through it until you've earned enough trust to get moved up in the lineup. And I think that that's the biggest difference in my mind between that and professional baseball.
Well, you got to also remember, too, like Mikey's talking about his experience. Think about that lineup that Mikie walked into.
That's my other point.
He didn't need to hit him in the 2-hole. Literally, the lineup was
actually, people would be like, why is he hitting him in the 2-hole?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, the lineup was stacked the entire way down. So, like, that little different – when you usually find those situations in college ball, it's probably either that or they throw the kid up in the top of the lineup. But, like, that goes into it, too. If you have an absolutely stacked lineup, then those situations, there isn't a true need to have him at the top. We can hide him somewhere because we do have protection and production other places.
You got protection at the 7-hole too.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So like that changes that little bit too.
For sure.
Sometimes you see the other way where there is no production and they say, "Oh, we got the young kid, let's throw him in there where there's nobody protecting him anyway." And you're like, "Well, why isn't he hitting well here?"
Yep, 100%, right? And
it's around him.
And to kind of go back full circle to football, it works the same way except you're not. In football, it's more about, hey, you're in the lineup. Here's an opportunity to go out there and make a couple of plays. And not having to put a guy in there not ready because it's play after play after play after. I mean, look, you could be perfect for 15 plays in a row, and on the 16th play you're not, and you give up a 75-yard touchdown run. It don't matter what you did.
And everybody saw it.
Everybody sees it. So having a freshman in there that was able to show you some things and then gradually get better behind other guys, I think is a big thing. So
my only concern, I might sneeze. My only concern is that the more people, like the more young guys you put in there, is what points do you start seeing more coverage?
Oh no, you're seeing that right now.
That's what I'm saying. Now you're adding another young guy to the front seven of the defense.
Yeah, right. But that's more of a linebacker cover. I think that you have the veteran presence in linebacker spot to put him in a.
Well, you saw what weeks with against South Carolina with some of the bust.
That's gap discipline, and I'm with you, right? That is a risk that you run, but
you're forced into this.
Yeah,
one.
you don't have. Hey, listen.
At this point,
obviously, they'd rather Harold in there.
We would much rather the older, more experienced, more impactful
best player maybe in the country.
But we don't have a choice.
Hey, should we play Harold or these two freshmen?
Can he play?
Yeah,
Harold, yes, duh. You should be playing. Well, we can't play. He's hurt. So now you got to figure out who's going to be able to replace them, and who's going to replace them most efficiently, and.
You got what weeks? You got the weeks
bros.
Person.
You know, it's not going to be one person.
No.
They're going to have more of a rotation, and that goes to maybe more continuity because everybody understands, hey, this is what our situation is, and let's put us in the right position and get on to the next guy.
And that's part of it because it did feel like if you wanted to play devil's advocate for this thing, and I'll never be on the side of Harold Perkins, whatever, like
I think we all need to say that. Make sure.
Doesn't make the defense better, but it did feel like there were some scenarios where it was like round peg, square hole. Like, what does he do best, and what does he at LSU, like Jared was saying, like you're trying to make him, I guess, prepare him for the next level, which became a huge talking point of, we know what he does really well, but this is what he should be doing, or this is what could capitalize on his potential.
I think, because I think there was certain spots right now, like Harold pops when he pops, but I still think there were certain spots where they were trying to figure out what do you do best and what's most comfortable to you, and then what else do we need you to do as well, where you have to get better at those spots. And I think there were certain spots where they were trying to figure those things out, and obviously we can't always put you in the absolute best spot. And sometimes that's showing on tape. And it just is what it is, but you would rather him in than have him out. You would rather have that ability to make the plays that he can make than not have him at all.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to figure it out at this point.
Yeah, Brian Kelly came out and said that he basically told how the plan would be with the linebacking group. Right? He said if we want to play three linebackers on the field, the first guy that would move out there would be Whit Weeks, playing the Sam. Wes would move to Mike, and Greg would play Will. Okay?
Interesting.
If we wanted to be in Buffalo, we are still in a really good position. We would probably
we lost the Predator package.
Yeah, we would probably activate Xavier Atkins as the next Will in that type of situation. So that's what we want to be in if we want to stay in the configuration that we were currently in versus UCLA. So he's not saying that's what they're going to do. If you just take what they did against UCLA and they want to stay in that, that's how that thing would get going. So, he's got his plan for it. He understood, what was going to happen if this, he had this plan in place. Obviously, if this were to happen, because that's what a depth chart does, you put guys in those positions where, if the guy gets hurt, he gets hurt, your next guy up. So he's obviously earned this position.
It's a roundabout